Thelma, which is this very strange Norwegian psycho chiller. Is that the best way of describing it? Yeah, so it's directed by Joachim Trier, who, if you remember, he made a film called Louder Than Bombs a while ago with Isabelle Huppert as a war photographer whose family are coming to terms with her legacy. Before that, he made Oslo, August 31 and Reprise. But Louder Than Bombs was a really strange film. A lot of people didn't like it. I did, not just because I think Isabelle Huppert walks on water, but because it did this thing about shuffling past and present, dreams and reality, differing memories, versions of life. It had a kind of strange sense of heightened reality. And I said when I was reviewing that film, I don't know why, but this film has got a touch of Donnie Darko about it. There is something about this film that has the air of Donnie Darko. Well, now in Thelma, I go, oh yeah, fine, that's what I was getting at. So the story is, it begins very much like Requiem, which was that German movie with Sandra Hüller, which I love. A young woman, Ailey Harbo, I think is how you pronounce it. I may be wrong. She goes to Oslo to study. She's been brought up in a strict religious household. She's kind of naive and out of sync with the other people at the university. She doesn't drink. She doesn't party. She doesn't really have friends. One day she has a seizure and she collapses and she's taken to hospital and they think that she might have epilepsy. Meanwhile, she's befriended by Anya, who is smart and funny and outgoing and gregarious, and starts taking her to clubs and parties. Gradually, she starts missing phone calls with her parents, who seem very, very concerned about her welfare. And she starts to realise that there's an attraction between her and Anya, that she is discovering something about herself that she didn't know before. And as she does so, and as she starts to fall into this kind of reverie, the world around her seems to tremble. Birds fly into windows. It's almost as if her internal experiences are happening externally. There's a scene in the opera where the two central protagonists, their hands touch and the sound baffles, the things that hang down from the top of a, starts trembling, starts just very slightly sort of, moving almost in the wind. And at this point, watching the film, I remembered that there's a very weird opening shot that you think it may be from a dream. It's a scene of a young girl and a man, and they're hunting a deer. This is weird because I saw it straight after Sacred Deer. And they're hunting a deer, and he has a gun, and she's looking at the deer, and then you look at him and you realise that he's pointing the gun at her, but then nothing happens, and then you think, did I just imagine that? Did I somehow make it up? And slowly, what you start to realise is that this is a film which is tapping into, on the one hand, themes that we've come across in Stephen King's Carrie, which is a story about somebody coming of age and discovering powers that they didn't have, and those powers being somewhat uncontrollable. There's also a touch of Raw, that absolutely brilliant French cannibal psychological thriller, which I just loved, by Julia Ducournau, who I thought was absolutely terrific. There's a little touch of Requiem, which I mentioned before, the German movie about a young girl who thinks that she's possessed by demons, and it's all very much to do with how much of this is in her mind and how much of it is in the world. He has this brilliant central performance, which is quite mesmerising and mercurial, and manages, in a kind of strange way. I mean, I was talking before about that central performance of Martin in Killing of a Sacred Deer, of a character who seems innocent and yet powerful, who seems to have powers that they don't fully understand, that they're kind of scared of. There's a hallucinogenic quality to it, a dreamy quality, a sort of a quality that even while you're watching it, you think, how much of this is actually happening, and how much of it am I kind of am I imposing on it? I thought it was weirdly ecstatic. I thought that ultimately it was empowering. I had no idea where it was going, and I very much enjoyed it, and that Donnie Darko thing just came right back to me, and I went back to my review that we'd done here on the show, and I said, yeah, that's exactly it. I said, there's a touch of Donnie Darko in this,
so
and
you finally understand your own
I finally
words.
understood what I meant.